A wise woman once said, Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Who said that? Anyway, welcome back to the channel. Ern here. Welcome back. Today is Friday. It has been a couple days. I decided to just take a break. Honestly, just wasn't really in the mood to make videos. Didn't really know what to talk about. And I think it's kind of wearing on me just to like complain. So I'm not going to complain. Welcome back. If you're unfamiliar, I record myself in a stream of consciousness talking about the hobby as a collector, as someone who buys and sells and trades and vends and grades. And this is the forum in which I do so. So, real quick, if you've not tuned in, I did a short little pod with Jodo Jake and our buddy Zach yesterday for like 2 hours where we just talk about random stuff in the market. And I got this haircut and they did not cut the back. It's kind of bothering me. I'll link it down below if you guys want to watch that. Just like 2 hours of people talking. But something came out of that conversation that I did want to talk about today. And I hadn't really thought about it too much before. And that is, how do you insulate yourself? How do you insulate yourself from what's happening in the market? How do you reduce downside risk? How do you make sure that what you're spending your efforts on, money, buying, flipping, investing, whatever it is, I don't know what you're doing. How do you make sure that you are going to be in good position to continue to do so no matter what happens with the market? And this conversation stemmed from, I think Zach asked, what do you think about, is the market, are we in a doom and gloom? Is the market going to come, slow down, whatever? And, I had to think about it for a second. And my response, I didn't rehearse this. I was just thinking about it, right? I was thinking about why that news and information just why it doesn't bother me. And I realized it's because I think I am making decisions and taking on opportunities that are minimally impacted by the current state of the modern market. I say minimally because it's never black and white, right? You're never going to be impacted by it. I mean, it's the market as one big body of one big economy, right? So clearly there's going to be impact on, PSA slabs or, older those types of things if the market goes down. But my response really came from, I don't think I put myself in a position today where if, let's say, black and white, great looking set that's coming out, I at least think so. Let's say they print the hell out of it. Even if that were the case, and then market responds, people eat it up, maybe market price goes down because everyone has their fair share. That outcome still doesn't necessarily affect me as much because I don't spend too much time on buying the latest set, flipping them, grading those cards. I'm not investing in that stuff. I think I've been pretty open about that. I don't really invest in ultra modern sealed anymore. I have, and it's not that I don't think it's a good idea. It's more so I think the entry point and the reliability to get product in volume is not there. And so I don't want to wait, however long it'll take, 3 years, 4 years, I'm not sure, for some of these sets to get to 2 or 3x. Not saying they won't. I totally think they will. It's more so I think it's going to take longer. I could be wrong. I could be right. But in place of that, I'm doing decisions and doing things that I think are going to net me more growth and further my collection and my Pokemon net worth. Oh, cringy. Faster. So, and I look at what's going on in today's market, and there's a lot of excitement, right? I'm not gonna say it's bad. I'm not gonna say it's oh my god, people are buying modern. Like, it's exciting. People are excited. The market is hot. People are spending money, and When people spend money, that is a proof point, no matter how you feel, that the market is doing well. I think you can have whatever feeling you want about flippers and scalpers and investors and whatever, but the numbers show, even though the contribution to these numbers may be higher than years past from like people who are running businesses or people who are flipping or scalp, whatever, the numbers show that everything is going well. And there's a lot to be excited about. I think with that though, if you are building a collection, building a business, investing, and you're part of this wave, you got to have a plan to either slow down or get out. Because it's going to be, I've said this before, if it's crowded on the way in, it's going to be crowded on the way out. And not to say that something will happen in the market where it's going to go doom and gloom or whatever. I think it'll slow down, but I don't think it's going to crash. Like, anyway, I don't want to get into that. My point is that, like, if everyone's riding the same wave, it's a good sign that you got to figure out when to splinter off. Got to figure out your niche. So now is a great time to figure out what opportunities do you have to source. What are things that you can grade and flip? What does local arbitrage look like for you, for the single, sealed, or whatever else? Reassessing the things that you're buying. Are you buying the same things most people are in the hopes that they're going to go up, in the hopes that you're going to make profit? I think these are like very valid things to think about, because if the market does turn, or if, let's pretend, I think the thing that came up was, what happens if GameStop dumps all of their product? I don't think that'll happen unless the market has turned, meaning everything's gone not well, so they're forced to kind of sell position. You don't want to be on that bottom floor that gets swept. And this also relates to, people who build businesses and a lot of new vendors that we see in this area who are, they're getting in, they heard about vending, it's awesome, they're selling singles. But when you go through their inventory and you really sit down and think about, like, what is this person's strategy, right? There's no specificity, or there's no uniqueness or curation or defense mechanism, because what they supply and what they offer is the same as most other people. I'm not saying like, hey, you gotta go, jump in the high face first into like Indonesian cards or Korean cards. But I'm saying, like, if you're operating at this base level where everyone can get in, whether it's the corporate companies taking over, right? Whether it's more competition, whether it's AI. Does AI play a part in this? At the end of the day, if you're doing the thing that is the lowest barrier of entry and everyone's doing it, then whatever comes next, market turn, market innovation, corporations, you name it, right? You are first in line to get chopped off. You're first in line to get whatever opportunity that you're going after to get removed from you. And that's just kind of how these things work, right? If it's easy to do and everyone can do it, then you can expect that someone's going to do it better or faster or, more effectively than you. And, the going back to the vendors that I see that are new, sure, if you're a vendor and you really like getting involved in this stuff and it's like for the hobby and fun, more power to you. Enjoy as much as you can for as long as you can. But I think a lot of people come in with that intention, and then they realize, hey, they got to figure out how to make money. And then they realize, oh crap. Instead of selling things and graduating to the next level, so instead of $5 singles, they go to $10, $20, $30, $50, $100, right? Taking on, which I would say it's not necessarily more risk, it's different risk. They're selling the same things through and through because they think that's the bread and butter. They think that's the thing that they need to be good at in order to get ahead. And when I used to vend, often I would put binders together. And there's a point where with binders, if you're not sourcing, expensive cards, you obviously can't offer like $30, $40, $50 cards and binders. You're offering like sub 20, sub 30, right? But there's a point where if you're not sourcing enough of the expensive stuff, you obviously can't offer it. And if you're always going for the cheaper stuff, then you're relying on lower average unit price to sell. And, it's just math equation at the end of the day. How many cards you have to sell to make $100 profit, right? You could do one card, you could do 50 cards, you could do 30 cards, but the unit of time is the same for everyone. So if you are continuing to sell at the lowest amount rather, and not progressing, getting the next tier, I think that in itself is where a lot of these sellers, from what I see, that's the trap they fall into. It's not about being successful today. It's about getting yourself to the next step and the next step and the next step. So in turn for me, what ended up happening was I stopped putting binders together. Not because I didn't love it. I actually thought that was the most fun. Have people flip through, like, oh my God, this is awesome. Have people buy your binders, that kind of thing. It's because I couldn't, it was hard for me to justify that revenue stream, even though I enjoyed it, because I knew, just doing math, like, how do I get to 4 figures today? How do I get to 5 figures, right? And I have had some of my best show days where I've done like 5-figure sales with binders, but then those binders got wiped out. None left. Had to go put more together, had to go buy more cards, more time, energy, and effort. You get what I'm saying. And so going back to the topic of like insulation, when you graduate price tiers and selling points, right? It's not just you have the potential of making more money. It's you are putting yourself in a class of people that is statistically less. And you're in a class of people too that are taking on items that, although margin wise, they might have the largest price swings, percentage wise, if you're buying the more premium stuff, the stuff that is worth more, valued more, has high sell-through, right? Over time, those products and those singles, those seals, whatever, they are not going to have, they're going to net be ahead of the onesie, twosie, $5 singles, $10 singles. And I think, as I explain this, it might seem really obvious, right? But you would be surprised when you go to shows, when you see eBay stores, when you see people really trying to get in the hobby, they are unable to it's hard to take on risk and like fathom, like, well, if I buy a $50 card and it sells and I don't sell it, like, can I eat the $50, right? But I'd rather buy $25 $2, and so like, I wish I had learned this sooner, especially as a collector investor, even before I was selling. I wish I would have just forked up in 2020 the $1,300 or whatever it was for like the what was it? I think, was it Mario and Luigi at that time? No, I think it was X and Y, the Mega X, Mega Y Zards. I should have forked up for those cards back then, but I just couldn't stomach taking on the risk. And don't need to say how much they're worth today or anything like that, but I think graduating is the progression people need, not necessarily how much can I sell of a single item in a certain price range. So I look at like what a lot of people are doing on the modern investing front. It's all good and gravy if you're getting all this stuff at MSRP, right? But the people who are participating on the secondary market, I think they are playing with fire. Very high risk opportunities that if the market corrects, who knows what that really means? If there's a big product dump, if there's whatever, right? They're going to get crushed first and get crushed the most. A lot of these streamers on Whatnot, a lot of these new streamers who, what's their shtick? If it's the same product as everyone else, you know, you're trying to make a living, they're going to get impacted first and the most. So I talk about installation. I want to talk about how that's led to opportunity somehow for me. I think as I reflect on selling all my Sun and Moon, I'm at like 90% great idea, 10% regret. I told you, the regret part never goes away when you get that high. At least for me. What I've been able to do with that money, I think, has been quite impactful. It's allowed me to speculate on sealed, other singles. I have a video coming out in the next few days on, you know, top 5 or 10 things I would be looking to buy. This is not what I'm actively buying, but what I would be looking to buy. And that money has allowed me to take opportunity where at any other point in time, I don't think I probably could have, because it just costs too much. So if you're a Magic fan and you're a Final Fantasy fan, you'll know that there's a big collaboration set that came out. This Final Fantasy Magic set I think it's the first collaboration set that's a core set. And what that means is the regular set is a set that the players actually need to buy to get the playables. In the past, Magic would do collaborations with other IPs, but those cards are more like cosmetic. They're not really meant for play, or they're not really meant to be part of the core rotation. In this case, they made Final Fantasy a core rotation. So they hit that note. They got all the players exposed to it. And then in Final Fantasy, within the set, or within the release, there's a collector's version. The collector's version, I think MSRP is like $300 or $350, I forget. And right now the collector boxes are going for like $1,100 or $1,200. And the reason why is, and there are, in the card list, there are 77 serialized version of this gold. It's a chocobo. It's a giant chicken duck that you ride in the game. It's like the size of a flamingo, right? And it's iconic. It's in every game, you know, whatever. And there's 77 of them in the gold texture. They're serialized. There's a confirmed sale for like 35. I think there's 2 confirmed sales for like 35 or 50 grand or 40 grand. So it's a big chase, right? And then outside of that card, there are other chocobos, other characters from the set that are going for anywhere between, I think the next 2 cards are 1,000 plus, and then after that there's like 10, maybe 5 or 6 cards 500 plus. And so anyway, this set is on fire. The thing about the collector boxes is, so far, it is believed, or maybe it's confirmed, maybe someone can confirm that for me, that there's only 1 print run. So what's happening is, if you have the capital, you like to speculate, you like Final Fantasy, and this checks all the boxes, people are pouring money into this. Magic fans, Final Fantasy fans, I know a lot of Pokemon guys are doing the same thing, because the scarcity for this is just skyrocketed right out of the gate. Limited print run and collector boxes. There's serialized cards. The next set of cards, the next 4, next 5 cards are more than $1,000. The next 5 cards after that are like $500 plus. So like it's like this perfect storm of, this is the thing that you would want to buy if you're looking to have rapidly increasing value, or if you're a mega collector. I sold a lot of the Sun and Moon boxes. I've deployed a lot of that capital into different sealed singles. I've mentioned that in previous videos. But I've in the last week, I have deployed a lot of money into Final Fantasy. I am a big fan. I grew up playing the games. I know most of the IP growing up. I know the characters, the story, kind of a wash because I was so young. But the characters, like the different places and locations, the different items, the different Esper gods, summons, right? I know, I recognize. And so outside of Pokemon, I would say, never would I think that a collaboration with Final Fantasy would get me so excited. But this is what happens when, you know, the collectability is there, the investment part is there, the flipping opportunity is there, great IP that you like, and it's made by a company You know, everyone has their thoughts on how WotC runs Magic, but it's made by a company that is serious business, right? So I think what I've realized is, going back to insulation, I inadvertently graduated to this tier of flipping and selling and buying, where I'm not buying cheap singles unless I'm buying high quantities of them. I'm not buying like the everyday thing unless I can get it for really cheap and in high quantities, right? I'm not spending my money in a way where it's limiting the opportunities I'm exposed to. I graduated quickly and was able to resell, sell off things I invested in, sell off things that I collected, you know, what have you, and allowed me to build up enough capital to make higher valued, higher price decisions, higher cost decisions. This is not specific to this Magic opportunity, is what I'm trying to get at. It's specific to, if you grow and you think about stacking blocks, and I've mentioned this before, if you stack pennies, you'll get to nickels and dimes. But if you stack quarters, you'll get to dollars. If you stack dollars, you'll get to, who's on the $20 bill? You'll get to Benjamins eventually if you stack dollars. But you're not gonna get to $100 bills by stacking pennies and nickels. Or if you do, you're a business that has insane volume. Most people don't have insane volume, right? So the what I'm trying to outlay here is the opportunities unlock themselves when you start thinking about every step up, selling the more expensive thing, sourcing the more expensive thing, taking on additional risk. And there's a slow way of doing it, obviously. There's a fast way of doing it. But at the end of the day, once you get to those points, you can capitalize on stuff like, I don't know what the Pokemon version of Final Fantasy will be, but for me, it was Final Fantasy. And I'll give you guys some examples. I bought 3 collector boosters at an average price of $600, and I opened them all. One of the cards I pulled, Cloud, I won't explain who he is. Surge Foil, I won't explain what that is. Anyway, it is currently outside of the Chocobos. It's the second or I think it's third highest card in the set. It's going for $500. I'm going to grade it. I sent it off today. It'll come back in like a week or two, and I'm going to sell it. If I had to guess, in a 10, it's probably going to go for $1,500, maybe. We'll see. Complete speculation. I bought more collector boxes on Sunday of this past week. So today's Friday, 5 days ago. I paid a lot for them. I paid market without sales tax, $820. A sealed case of 6, so that's good because there's actually a premium for these sealed cases. Within 5 days, that purchase has gone from $4,900 to, I think the lowest sealed case is like $6,500. Individual box price, it would be about $6,000. So I've effectively grown 20% of my money because I was able to afford it. And yes, this is speculation, but I would say there is enough proof points and writing on the wall that this set, as it started to rapidly rise, it was deservedly so. And that is not typical when you think about Pokemon, which has unlimited print, technically unlimited print quantity, right? Or capability. That's not possible in a lot of other games, a lot of things you can buy. In this game, those collector boxes should not be reprinted again. So what you see is what you get. And unless there's like some hidden amount of supply that's going to enter the market and catch everyone off guard, what the market is doing, at least in the US, TCG Player and then eBay. I'm not sure about global. I looked in Europe and the box prices are a little bit more expensive. I'm not sure how Japan works. It is showing that there's real demand, and this product is well worth, people believe it's well worth the money. Is there manipulation? I have no idea. But from my perspective, as a fan and as someone who's spent heavily in Pokemon and understands like these general markets, it was very clear to me that this is something that is highly desirable. And as a result, if you asked me what, 3 weeks ago, would I have done this decision? Absolutely not. I would have laughed and been like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just a Magic collaboration. But then as it released and I applied what I knew as a seller, and I applied what I knew about the years of like investing and selling and collecting in Pokemon, it became clear like this has to be the decision. This is going to be the decision that I'm going to make to get further ahead. So let's check back in 1 or 2 weeks on Magic. I'll let you know where I'm net. I'm so tempted to open up more product. This is the degenerate side of me. Like, can I open up an $820 box of Final Fantasy Magic Collectors, which is now at $1,200? Like, just thinking about it gets me excited and anxious. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Insulate yourselves, graduate quickly, and as a result, opportunity comes. You get access to new things that most people can't buy. Most people would just armchair Monday morning quarterback and just, they would make commentary on. Most people would never be able to do that because they don't know how to get themselves to that point when it comes to buying and selling and trading and flipping in the hobby. Okay, that's all I got for you guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace.